Hi there, hope you're doing well. This is Tim and I'm coming back at you with a fresh new video, and today we're doing an analysis. Now it might seem like that we're going to be talking about Mulan, and yes, we are going to talk about Mulan. However, Mulan has a sibling that we also need to address, so please enjoy this quick transition as I snap my neck. Alrighty, so today we're going to analyze the similar scene from both Mulan 1 and Mulan 2, and we're going to highlight the differences between something that has a lower production value or not enough time to really create the full effect of what you would want versus something that is higher production valued with plenty of time or more time to develop what you want that at the end of the day creates a stronger effect than this. So let's dive right in. So the first thing, I noticed that there's three main differences between the scenes from Mulan 2 and Mulan 1. The first thing that we're going to talk about is, very simply from this pause screen, is how it looks. You'll notice that Mushu here versus Mushu from the original, they don't really quite look the same. There are parts later on where they do clean this up and get it closer character-wise, but just it's very different, and even with someone new, this might throw someone off. It just doesn't look similar to what we're used to, and what we're used to is something that we want. We want this more than that. You'll also notice that for the majority of the movie is that it's very flat. As far as colors and tones, there's not really a lot of shading and lighting throughout. You'll see some stuff in the background, obviously, but as far as the characters, just the colors for the majority of the whole film is just this very flat, bland, versus the original has a lot of tonal shifts, which I'll show you very soon. The second thing you'll also notice, and I have to go through the couple scenes to show you, is just how it moves. Pay attention to how the ghosts come out of the tombstones here, or I don't know if they have a more official name, I apologize, but it's very detailed and it just is very quick, and then suddenly they're right there. But you'll notice in this next scene, look how much time they're taking just to show this one character, and look how much detail you just saw there, just for one character. And you'll also notice how he formed the staff from his sleeve right there. Look at that. Look how beautiful that is. All that time just to show this one character, about 10, maybe 20 seconds. And the detail here, you can already see all the different shades and hues and sparkles, and as it goes across, they're adding on as the characters glow up. You also notice a bit of squash and stretch and some drag from the hair. You'll notice to show his spectral weight, the sleeves delay a bit. If I back it up a little tiny bit, you'll even notice how stretched the sleeves are and how stretched the fingers and the hands are. There's a delay of the sparkles. All of that just because you have a lot more time in it as he rests, as he grabs it, and then we get into the Mushu scene. You'll also just notice the shading, again, how I was talking about the flat colors and flat tones. That alone, look at all the different shading and coloring that we get here. And as we get to Mushu, he has his flat colors, which is right there, but we have all this extra light. We have the darkness from up there because the light source is down here. You'll also notice with the next scenes with Mulan 2 is that it's very back and forth. It's very janky. You'll kind of see here, and I'll kind of walk through it. Is that they're in this resting pose. They go forward into the next one. Again, there's a little bit of delay in the hair. It's not entirely janky. They go to their down pose with a little bit of an arc. They go down for anticipation, and then they go up. It's very, very janky. If I play it for you, it just kind of seems like they're just going for the beat. It's like beat, 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 beat. It's very janky, and because with the original you have a lot more time, you have more ability to show that delay and that weight, and the movements don't seem as janky. They still, again, this is not horribly animated for the most part. Like, there are still good parts where, you know, even though they have fewer strands of hair and there's not as much drag by comparison, it's still there. We still get this cool squash and stretch, and this whole bit with Mushu before, just showing off with all the flowers and drapery. Again, there's drag there. It's not horribly animated at all, like, by comparison, it's not horribly animated in general, but by comparison, you just can see the difference. The other thing that you'll definitely notice, throughout this scene, look how little the camera's moved. It hasn't moved as much already, and we get that little tiny movement there. But for the majorities of the shots of the scene, the camera isn't moving at all. It's very static, and some of the characters are static. Versus, watch this whole sequence from Mulan 2. We have it sweeping up. It's following the hand. It's revealing something else. Brad Bird does a lot of examples with this in his talks. How it sweeps up. There's a little delay from the camera. as the character's there, it stops, and he almost goes off screen, but then the camera has to catch up to him. The light source is moving too. It's static on Mushu, which is okay, but then you get great shots like this, where it doesn't have like anything like rule of thirds, but you have this arced kind of shaping from the stones in the background. You have this perspective of feeling small, like Mushu looking up at the ghost, who is humongous and big. Visually, and also how the camera's moving, it gives the scene a lot more breath and a lot more life versus just being a static shock. The other big thing that is about this scene, and I'll do an example, is the movies don't sound the same. It might sound funny by like, how does that compare to animation? Well, if you look at animation films, really it's basically boiled down to how they look, how they move, and how they sound. There isn't really much else other than that as far as like the bare bone basics. So here's an example of this scene with how Mulan 2 sounds versus the how Mulan 1 sounds. That's right. Now, wake up the ancestors. That's right. Now, wake up the ancestors. Did you hear the difference? One really has this flat sound to it, which it's not concerning the dialogue at all from Mr. George Takei, but it's really just this very flat, deep voice delivery that it's just delivered as it is versus the other one has weight to it. It sounds heavy. We already have been given visual examples and action examples through timing and overlap and drag and squash and stretch that this is a very big, heavy character, despite the fact that he's a ghost. But he should sound that as well. That's why the one voice works over the other, because the voice fills up the room. Another thing as far as differences between the two is you'll notice that they both basically end the scene with Mushu getting thrown out. But you'll notice in Mulan 2, it has this sort of baseball pitch fast effect to it. In my opinion, it doesn't really fit his character that well, where it just goes for the wind-up and it's snappy, and then he's out of there. I just don't think it really works that well, because it seems like his arm and this snapping motion is separate from this character. And it's just so fast, and he's out, and just that it just seems like that there could be a lot more squash and stretch, or just a lot more, weighted emphasis on this. Versus if you look at this example, you'll notice that there isn't really much snappiness to it. It fits his weight. Again, there's exaggeration there, which is hilarious, but it's this big action. He's a big character in a big sweeping throw, and he gets carted out, and you get your little comedic moment right there. Bang. And it's just, hey, I sympathize with this pose. It's very frustrating when you receive a sequel that sadly just doesn't get as much attention as it deserves. And it's not trying to throw blame on anything. It's just a shame that something couldn't be better because either there wasn't enough time or there wasn't enough money given to make it better, especially when you can compare it to the original, which it just has so much beauty and magic to it. Magic is the word. The scene is magical versus the second one seems mechanical. It's really sad, but at least you have something to remember that's beautiful. Alrighty, that'll about wrap it up for me with this video, so thank you guys so much for watching. Feel free to subscribe if you haven't, or leave a comment or a like if you feel like it, and hey, if anything, demand for better content. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I also hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Bye!